So roughly about 2 years ago, I decided to move my life and my business from back home in Cork in Ireland all the way out here to Dubai in the UAE. There's a few reasons why I done this. Firstly was because I was looking to move away anyway, and I was running an online coaching business. So basically I was looking to think, where will I go that's going to make my business work best for me. Thought about going to Spain, thought about going to Australia, and then I knew quite a few people who are coming over here to the UAE who were doing the same thing that I was doing. I had a chat with them, and then they spoke to me about the lifestyle out here, the benefits for business, the fact it was tax free, and I thought, okay, let's see what this is about. We can go out and set up here. If we don't like it, we can always live somewhere else. So that was why I moved here in the first place. We came here with the plan of maybe not staying here too long term. That was the initial thing. With my job, I can obviously live anywhere in the world. I don't have to be confined to one place, which is a really nice thing to have. And that was the plan potentially, was to come out here, maybe do a few months, get everything set up and then bounce. But as I began to spend a bit more time here within the first couple of months, I decided to stay a bit longer, and here we are 2 years later, a little over that now, and yeah, no plans on going anywhere anytime soon. This will certainly be my base and going forward for the future. It's an amazing place, and I want to get into a little bit about why I feel that is okay. So long term, as I said, potentially, I'll be here forevermore in terms of business, coming back and forth. Whether I'm going to be living here every month of every year for the future is another thing, which again I will decide as time goes. Previously, for the summers, last summer I did go home. The first summer we got here, we spent here, but I'll get into a little bit about what that was like also in this video. The whole vibe of this city and the Middle East in itself is obviously the obvious one is the permanent sunshine. That was a big thing for me back home in Ireland. A lot of the year can be overcast, dull and rainy. You get that seasonal depression, especially as the winter months kick in. So I was really looking to get to a place where you could, have the majority of the year round have that sunshine, which puts you into a good mood. That's one of the big reasons why I decided as well to obviously not just move away from home, is to move somewhere sunny. And to be fair, you get that all year round in Dubai. I know the summers are a bit hotter than what you probably can manage, but that's why you can always leave these places and come back again when it suits yourself. So firstly, accommodation. When we came here first, it was a little bit tricky to get set up. You can't actually go and rent a place for a year straight off the bat, because you need to get your visa set up. As soon as you have your visa for your residency, then you can get more long-term rentals. But I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing that you need to rent like Airbnbs or stay in hotels or hotel apartments for the first few weeks or months while you're getting set up, because it gives you an opportunity to go and stay in different places, different areas, and see what they're like. Initially, we came here and we were under the impression that you had to live in like the marine area, the JVR area. That was like what we were kind of seen as our long-term future out there, was staying in one of these places. We couldn't find a place when we were looking initially in that area that was within our budget. It was quite expensive at the time when we came out here, not long after things reopened up after COVID, and we came across a place that was in JVC, which is a bit further inland, and it was within our budget. It looked quite nice, so we said we'll go with this place, see what it's like, and this certain area. So we ended up going to this area, spending 2 to 3 months bouncing around to different places within this area, because we found an amazing gym here that suited exactly what it is that I wanted. I had everything under one roof: your gym, your martial arts, other activities like Pilates and yoga and whatever it is that you're into. They had everything here in this one place, which I thought was amazing. Whereas back home in Ireland, you would probably have to go to different places, drive around the different areas to get all this in. So that's kind of why we wanted to settle in this area in JVC. And eventually, once we had our visa sorted, we were able to sort out a longer term rental for a year. So we ended up coming in May 2022, which again was maybe not the best time to arrive, coming into the summer heat, but it let us experience what that was like also. That kind of time was like bouncing around a little bit, getting used to the thing. Could we actually see ourselves living here long term? There was tough periods, especially living in the heat, and going to the beach during the summer was quite difficult. You know, there is a lot of things you can do inside as well, which certainly helps, but outside during the summertime is a lot more difficult. But getting back on top of the accommodation side of things, once we had that locked in, you're usually either paying for like a year up front, maybe in 2 split payments, or 3 or 4. Very rarely it'll pay a month to month. They always want to divide the contracts up like that for the accommodation. One thing I will say about the accommodations is you need to be careful with where you're renting or who you're renting off. When we were spending time bouncing from one place to the other on Airbnb, it was fine, it was okay, there was no issues, but when we were looking for our long-term place, we did nearly get scammed. And I think it was Baywood, or I can't remember which site it was, one of the maybe property finder. Very, very close, we figured out it was actually a fake page that they directed us to make the payment. Thankfully we seen it last minute and we didn't get caught, but we were very close to getting caught and scammed out for a couple of €1,000. Just a word of warning, be very careful and don't do any transactions online that you're unsure of. And just, you know, when you're going to see the accommodation, make sure you go and view it, make sure you meet the agent and who it is that you're dealing with before you hand over any money. Standard of living and cost of living here is probably, you know, as close to home, if not even cheaper in some situations than you were if you were rent out a 1-bedroom back home in Cork. You know, here price range is probably in around the same. There's not a whole lot of a difference in the quality of the building, the quality of the area you live in, the environment that you're in. Obviously is going to be 10 times better than potentially the quality of the building that you're living in and the area that you're living in back in a place like Ireland or the UK. Cost of living and lifestyle in general, it really does depend on the lifestyle that you're living. Like if you're a person that wants to party all the time, then you won't be very long going through your money. If you know, live for the weekends and that's all you kind of think about, you would burn through your capital pretty quickly, as it is expensive to drink out here. Alcohol is not cheap. One of the things that isn't cheap, to be fair, and yeah, food out as well. If you like to eat out a lot, it can be pricey enough, but if you budget and you know, you do go and do these things as well, but like in moderation, you don't have to obviously go and do these things multiple times per week or every single weekend. You can still go and do fun stuff, of course. You can still go and eat out, and there is places that are very, very reasonable, and then there's obviously the more upmarket stuff which you can treat yourself to every now and again. But if you want to do this thing and just trying to live the high life all the time, then it can be very difficult to sustain unless you're absolutely balling and making crazy amounts of capital. So if you budget right, like, you know, your shopping, your week to week spending of, like, if you do decide to eat out, if you do decide to go and do something, if you have a car, like for example, renting a car is quite cheap here compared to any other country I've been in. Buying a car here is very reasonable as well, much cheaper than I would say back home. Then you don't have tax and insurance to worry about, you have a test and that's basically it. It is much cheaper overall in that sense. So there is things that I would say are much cheaper than home and things that are more expensive. As I said, if you want to live that more extravagant lifestyle, you know, there's no better place to do it, but you want to obviously make sure you're keeping it within your budget as well at the same time. Obviously having no tax here really helps. There is a tax after being brought in, a corporation tax, but it only affects businesses that are above a certain threshold. There's a VAT as well, a 5% one. I think that again is above a certain threshold. So for a small business owner like myself, you know, you might pass into it eventually, but it's not something that you necessarily need to worry about. You know, when you come here first and you're setting up. Again, having no taxes here as well is another way of like you're spending money. So for example, if you're back home and you're making, let's say 10,000 a month from your business, that might only equate to, what is it, 5,000 or 6,000 in your pocket at the end of that month. Whereas over here, out in a place like this, you make your 10,000, that 10,000 is yours. So then you're saving in that sense. You can reinvest that capital in different things, investments, you can treat yourself, reinvest it back into the business itself, whatever it may be. So in that sense, I would say the cost of living and the standard of living is much lower than, because you are saving quite a lot if you really think about the amount you're saving on tax and VAT and whatnot, which was a big appeal as well from someone like myself coming out here to live and move here. And you know, it's just another one of the benefits that, you know, living in this country gives you. In terms of shopping out here itself, like clothes and stuff, I would say slightly more, but again, you're saving so much when you're not paying tax and VAT. I understand that there's a little bit of a markup on things like this when you do go to the shopping centre, you do want to do a bit of shopping. Same thing with your weekly shop for your groceries. it's a little bit more, I would say, but nothing that's like you're gonna say, whoa, that's breaking the bank every week. Slightly more than what you pay at home, but again, when you consider what you're paying back home in terms of tax and different things, and tax in your car, insurance, and all these different sorts of things that have to be paid to have premiums on them back home, it is not the case here. Fuel as well, you can fill up your car basically for, I think, 20-25 quid when I have my rental car. I now have a Jeep, which is a little bit more, obviously it's a bigger tank, maybe 30-35 euros. So back home that would potentially be, I would say, 90 or 100. So you're saving a lot in different areas. In terms of like travel and getting around in Dubai, it has become so much busier. Even in the last 2 years that I've moved here, I believe people who have been here before that have been saying the same, that like in the last, since COVID-19 really, and everywhere opened back up, a lot of people have actually moved here. So many more expats. I think there was a record amount of people moved here in 2023. So the roads have become a lot busier. It is harder to get around. The public transport system isn't the best yet, but it is improving. They do have big plans to do that. But getting around is quite easy. The roads are quite large. It is, like, I would say, Americanized in that way, the way they have the roads laid out. I think they took a lot of inspiration from America. They probably do need to make a few more lanes now, the way the growth of the city has gone, and I know they have big plans for more cycling lanes and better public transport, which again is going to take more people off the road over the coming years. Taxis also out here are extremely cheap compared to, I would say, somewhere like back home or any other country I've been to actually. To get around in a taxi, like, you're talking any 15-20 minute journey is maybe 10 euros, in around that marker. Even going for a longer journey, if I have to go to the airport from here, probably a 45-50 minute journey, it's only going to cost me 30 to 40 euros, which isn't a lot. Again, if you're back home in the UK or Ireland, you're going to be talking a hell of a lot more for a taxi just to a place that's 45 minutes away. Now the climate, which is a big one out here, right? Reason why so many people move here, but also reason why so many people leave here in the summertime. It does get extremely hot here. The first year we came here, we did spend the summer here. It was a bit of a shock to the system. I hadn't experienced really heat like that before, and especially as a person who likes to get out and about, I love to go to the beach, I love to be outside, so I was still trying to do these things, but I was struggling doing them, which at times made me doubt would I actually stay here. But as soon as it came into September and cooled down a little bit, and the humidity started to kind of calm down as well, and then once you reached October, it just was like bliss, perfect weather from the month of October right up until, I would say, April. It's just an amazing time if you ever are planning on coming and visiting. I find as well when you leave Dubai, like I did last summer, I went home for July, August and September, and after you've been away for a bit, you actually, you appreciate it even more then. You actually really look forward to coming home. So the breakaway can do you good. Just like the breakaway from home, I'm looking forward now to going back home and seeing everyone again. So it is nice to have that balance, but I always felt that there the last time, this last time I went away from here, I was very grateful for being able to have the opportunity to live here and run my business from here, and I was really looking forward to coming back here and getting back into this environment that really, really helps you be in that mindset of growth and developing your business and networking and meeting people and just expanding your mindset and what it is you really want to achieve and get out of your life. And the quality of life and the safety here, I would say, is better than any place I've ever been, which was a big reason why we decided to stay here as well, longer term, not just for a couple of months and then maybe leave and come back. Like the rule that they have, I think, for business owners is that you have to enter in every 6 months. That was kind of the initial thought. Having maybe lived somewhere in Europe like Spain and come back every 6 months, but no, I'm like, quality of life here is probably better than anywhere else I've ever been to. And I've travelled around, I've been to a lot of places, thankfully and luckily. I have been able to do that, and just here, I can't name a place that would beat it in terms of safety. It's definitely, I think, up there in the top 3 safest countries in the world. There's no crime here. You could leave your phone down somewhere in like a shopping centre or in a pub or whatever, and you could come back the next day and it would be there, or someone would be after handing it in. There's no crime like that. there's very rarely, I don't think I've ever actually seen violence out here in person, like a fight or anything like that. And the crimes, if you do commit them, are so severely punished that people aren't willing to risk, doing it. They're, abiding by the law here because, of what could potentially happen. And the people that generally come into this country, there's so much vetting done to actually get in here. If you want to live here instead of a business, there's good people entering. They're not coming here for the wrong kind of reasons. And, that's why I feel it's so safe as well, because of the way the law is, the respect that's there to the government and, and the people that are running this country. Also, it's super clean here, like everywhere is like very well maintained and looked after. Also, there are, like, obviously you're in the desert, so stuff is artificial here. Like, sometimes it might have Las Vegas vibes for some people, that it's just like a place that came out of nowhere in the desert, but they are working on that. They're developing a lot more greenery here, trying to create more nature. Obviously that requires rain. They do things like cloud seeding here to make it rain, to allow that to happen, to improve even their agriculture and crops, but also, as I said, to give you that nature kind of feeling, or that nature vibe. And again, that attracts people in their own right who want that around. There is certainly improvements in that aspect, and again, it's another thing that I can see that they're improving on more and more. Also, another thing is, like, it's amazing what they can do in terms of delivery here. Like, everything can be delivered no matter where it is, what it is, within a very short time frame. They're super efficient that way. If you run out of fuel, you can get petrol delivered. If you need to get clothes to someone else that wants to borrow, a t-shirt, or if you're a girl, a dress from, whoever, you can get these things sent into each other. It's super efficient that way. It's again one of those things that's like a super convenient thing that you don't have back home. That's, I suppose, one of the big things about living in big cities like this. I know a lot of cities have these delivery systems. You deliver out for food, and they have about 3 or 4 different ones out here. Talabat is another one. It's just super efficient. The next thing would be environment. So the environment out here is certainly one of the best in terms of the culture that's there for growing a business, meeting people that are like-minded. You network really well with, so many other people who are in a similar situation or similar circle to what you're in. You bounce ideas off each other, and it's a great way just to learn and develop. I've found that that's one of the best things about living out here, is that environment. Back home, or in the UK, or maybe in other places around the world, you have this thing called tall poppy syndrome, where if you kind of start to shoot out above, people will try and chop you down. And out here, it's not that. Everyone wants you to see you grow and succeed, and wants you to do the very best that you can. What's the old saying? A rising tide lifts, all boats. So again, people just want to see each other doing well, and like, they'll bounce ideas, as I said, share different things that are working well for them. And that networking, as I said, you meet someone in the gym, you have a 5-minute conversation, or you meet someone in the coffee shop and they just share something that's been working well for them. And that's one of the best things I found about living out here, is the networking and the environment that you're in. Everyone is in that growth mindset. Everyone wants to do better and be better and just become that best version of themselves. Moving on to the final kind of aspect I wanted to touch on was, like, the pros and cons of being here are more so leaning towards, like, the worst things. That's a bit more person dependent. So I'm just going to kind of run through that, because it's going to be different for everyone else. What's a pro for one person might be a con for another. But one of the cons out here, I would say, is just the weather in the summertime is a little bit unbearable. It's not, something that you cannot do, but having spent the first summer that I was living here out here, I just said the following summer I wasn't going to do that, because I have the choice to be able to live anywhere with this, and I'm like, why not go home and see family and friends? So that's one of the things I do feel is maybe one of the cons for me. Another one would be, and it's a kind of a silly one, it's nothing major, it's like a little bit of an inconvenience, but you can work your way around it. It's like you need a VPN to make calls back home through WhatsApp, or if you want to FaceTime, you need to use a VPN. It's not a thing that is a big deal or anything like that. You could just download a VPN, but it's just something that's a slight inconvenience. So, like, if you're putting that in as a con, that's saying something about the place, right? It's not really something that is going to cause you too much hassle. The last one would be that you're in such a bubble out here, I suppose, that you do get that feeling of, like, you're so safe, there's nothing really that can go happen. You can leave your apartment open. You can leave your key in the car, no one's going to take it. You can leave your phone down or your laptop anywhere and go away and come back and it's not going to be there. You might become, I suppose, too like in that feeling of safety if you go back to the European countries when it's not so safe, or other areas around the world where it's not so, and you can't do these things, so you might let your guard down a little bit because you're not used to it. I suppose having lived in Ireland, grown up, or visiting places in Europe, you have a bit more caution around you, you're a bit more careful. Your interactions with people throughout here, you don't really have to worry about these things, so it can give you a false sense of safety when you do go back. Maybe it might be worse if you maybe grew up here, or you rear your kids here and they have to go back home and they're not used to it and they're just so used to being in this bubble. I would say maybe that's more difficult. It's not a big con, it's just something that might create that kind of false sense of safety, and that's it. There's nothing really bad or worse things than that I would have to say about the place. The traffic is a little bit of an inconvenience, it's nothing major. Like, as you can see, it has so many things going for it. There's so much more pros than there is cons for me, which is one of the reasons why I said we're going to be here for the foreseeable future anyway, I will say. To finish up, I just wanted to run through some questions. When I said on my Instagram that I was going to be doing a bit of a vlog around life in Dubai, if anyone had any questions to get them in, I got a couple of questions that came in and I'm going to run through those now for those people that wanted to find out a little bit more. So let's get stuck into the first one. What is your least favourite thing about Dubai? You can't mention home. That was the first one. So, or you can't mention missing home. That was the first one. So my least favourite thing is probably the traffic, and I don't even have to deal with that as much. Like, I can work from home most of the time. Sometimes I do go somewhere else, go to a coffee shop, and then I'm like, oh, geez, this would be a disaster to have to sit in every day in certain areas at certain times, like especially rush hour, like most big cities. Luckily, I don't have to do that, so I shouldn't really be complaining about it. But it is one of my least favorite things when I am sitting in traffic. I'm just like thankful I don't have to do it all the time. So that would be up there. The heat in the summertime, but like again, I don't have to deal with that either. So I'm quite lucky, I must say, in my living conditions that are out here, and my choice to be able to be here or not be here at certain times of the year. So probably not a clear answer that you're looking for, but close enough. I know you said as well, can't mention missing home, but can I mention the food from home? I do certainly miss that. The quality of the food is certainly better in Ireland, I would say, than nearly anywhere else in the world. The quality of the meat, just the home cooking, it's hard to get as good quality out here. So I know I said I can't mention missing home, but maybe that would be missing my home cooking, or I suppose, or Irish cooking. What is the best thing about Dubai? Can't mention the weather or taxes. They're the obvious ones, right? The sunshine 9 months of the year, the tax-free system that's out here. But what are the best things about Dubai is the environment, like I said, like the people that you meet, the networking opportunities, the ability to, speak to someone for a few minutes and get a business idea, or just that grow up mindset that's out here. Everyone wanted to see each other succeed and do better. It's an amazing place to be. I've never experienced this anywhere else that I went either, probably because it's such a hub that's drawn in these kind of people who are in a similar boat, who are growing businesses and they are trying to succeed and they're looking for ideas and they're sharing ideas, and you're getting so much out of that. So I would say that networking and the environment is the best thing about being out here. This question was, being the outgoing person that you are, was it easy making connections? Outgoing person that I am, I don't know about that, but initially the first few months is a little bit tricky because you're just focusing on getting everything set up. And the time of year that we came, actually a lot of people leave in the summertime. We came in May 22, so a lot of people were actually heading back to Europe at the stage of maybe traveling Asia or whatever. So then it wasn't maybe as easy at that stage, and we were still focusing on getting settled and getting a place for the long term, setting up the business bits and pieces we needed to. But after that, when you got settled into the gym and you start seeing more familiar faces, you start to see the same people, you start striking up conversations, then it became easier. I've made quite a lot of connections now, especially through the martial arts and the gym that I was in. People that do jiu-jitsu, are all quite friendly. We meet them, or kickboxing, or boxing, whatever it is, in the gym. You get to make connections there, you have conversations with people. I built some good friends out here, some good connections I feel that I can ask help for. I have a friend out here as well who I know from another life nearly, you could say, when I was doing my engineering back in the day. He's a local here that got sent to Ireland, and he was doing the same course that I was doing, which was marine engineering back in the day. And we stayed friends. We hadn't spoke for years, and he seen I was here, so he has been super helpful to me. Hamoud, if you're listening, that's probably been, you know, one of the luckiest things I've had out here. I would consider myself quite a lucky person. I must say I'm very grateful, and you know, he's out here and he's certainly helped me in different ways and just settling in more, and he's a great friend to have out here and just give me some direction with different things that I need that only a local might actually know. So an elaborated answer to that question, but I would say it is easy. You meet people that are interested in the same things that you're in, and then you just hit it off. Did you move away for the summer, or do you move away for the summer due to the heat? Yeah, like I touched on, the first year we didn't, because the time of year that we moved. The second year then that we were here, we said we would, and are going into the second year because it wasn't the most enjoyable experience, and it's just a good time to head back to Europe. The weather's better, there's, you know, more things happening. It's a great time to be around back home. So yeah, again, I'll be doing the same. I'm actually leaving in a couple of weeks' time, and I'll be going back again for the summer months. Any downsides people don't mention? It's the obvious ones, like the temperature in the summer. If you aren't coming out here and you don't have a job, I'd imagine it's going to be quite difficult. If you don't have a business that's doing well, it can be quite difficult, I'd imagine. The traffic I've touched on has gotten worse, is one thing. You know, it's only kind of a different. Even the first year I came, it wasn't as bad. Prices have gone up in property and stuff, but it's still, like, you know, better than I would say back in Dublin or Cork back home, for the value that you're getting, for the quality of the building. What is the transport like? As I said, traffic's quite bad, but you know, to get around, you don't need a car. Like, I have always had a car since I've been 17. I just love having that freedom to get into a car and go wherever I want. So when I came here, the first few months I didn't, got my license sorted, and then I was renting for a number of months. It's quite cheap to rent here, 400 or 500 euros for a month. I think you might pay that back home for a week, and yeah, it isn't bad that way. Eventually, you know, it does feel like dead money after a while, which is why I bought a Jeep there. It's easy to get on in taxis, it's quite cheap, but just to have that freedom to go wherever you want, whenever you want, I've always had that, and you know, something that I value quite highly. So I said I would get a car, but I know a lot of people who've been out here longer than me and they still don't drive, and you don't need it because, as I say, taxis are quite cheap. What's the bodybuilding scene like out here? Is it more hardcore rather than fitnessy? There's a mix of everything, I would say. There is your hardcore bodybuilding gyms, Benus being one of them. There's other ones. Warehouse is quite a popular one as well. Seven, I haven't been to some of them, I have been to others. The one I'm in, Wellfit, is a perfect blend for me. It has everything under one roof. You have your bodybuilding section, strength and conditioning. You have CrossFit for the CrossFitters. I'm not a CrossFitter myself, but it's there. You have the martial arts section, which is amazing, all in under one roof. Boxing, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. You have parkour if you're into that kind of thing. You have yoga, you have Pilates, whatever it is. This gym just has it all, which is why it appealed to me. And you know, it has its own cafe and restaurant, has its own coffee area. There's a shop if you need supplements. It has everything that you need, which is why it was just a dream spot for me. It was low. I'm literally living 10-minute walk from it now. So last year I was living like a 25-minute walk from it. It's the convenience of it for me. The bodybuilding ones are there. I'm kind of more so in a blended scene of health and fitness, strength and conditioning, martial arts, rather than being purely under bodybuilding. But there is that aspect. There's whatever you want is out here. If you want to go hardcore bodybuilding, that's there. If you want to go more health and fitnessy, that's there as well. Actually thinking of moving over myself soon. What's the cost of living like? I would say the cost of living here compared to back home is, there's not very much in it. You could argue it's cheaper in some situations. Like if you're living at home with your parents, you're obviously going to be saving on things like renting. But if you're living out on your own in a place like a city or even the towns these days, the rent has gone, I would say, nearly more expensive than a place like Dubai. You know, you've incredible apartments here that are brand new that are probably cheaper, like a 1-bedroom, let's argue here it ranges from 1200 to 1300 euros right up until 18, 19, maybe 2 grand for a very high quality one. So you can get something within that range that's really good value. You're talking over a month, and then some places will have bills included, other places won't. That depends on the billing. You can get a studio from anywhere from probably 900 to 13 or 1400 a month, depending on, again, the quality, the location, the area, and then obviously if you're looking for 2 bedrooms and stuff, you're talking a bit higher. But like, I would say, cheaper than home in some sense. Like the fuel here, you can fill up your car for what, 25, 30 quid. Back home it's 2 times that at least. There's no tax, the insurance is super cheap. There's a test here as well, but like it's not as stringent as an NCT back home. Cars are quite cheap to buy, rent even. Groceries I would say are slightly more, but not majorly. And then you need to remember you're saving on things like tax, so weigh it up like that. It just depends what way you want to look at it. I would say overall the cost of living here, if I was to weigh everything up, and the lifestyle that I live now, would be less than back home. If I was living more of a party lifestyle and an extravagant lifestyle, then I'm sure I would probably say it's more expensive here, because those kind of things are, like if you're going to beach clubs all the time, if you're going out and going to clubs, going to brunches, drinking a lot, like I said, alcohol can be expensive. Luckily I'm past that kind of scene in that season of my life, we'll say, and I still like to go out and enjoy myself every now and again, but you can easily do that without breaking the bank. Last question was, why hasn't your accent got more understandable? This is something I didn't realise until I came to Dubai, that the Cork accent, or the Youghal accent in particular, is actually quite a strong accent. I was told to have a stronger accent than a Wexford man, which I was shocked by an English guy. Yeah, I've been working on this since I got here. I've tried to slow down the way I speak, tried to speak more clearly, tried to put more emphasis on certain words that people might not understand. I have certainly worked on that. I don't know, has it got much better? I will continue to do so and try and make it a bit more clearer and take away that strong accent that I did not believe that I had, but obviously I do. And yeah, I don't know. I do find the conversations I have, most people tend to be able to understand me, but you can let me know in the comments below if you think I have a strong accent and it's difficult to understand. I'll maybe work on it a little bit more, my beautiful Cork accent. So that's it, guys. If you would like to know more about Dubai, I'm going to try and cover more information about this on maybe some more YouTube vlogs and stuff like that, but what life is like out here. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see me covering, I'd be happy enough to go through it. If you want to drop some suggestions, if you want to find out more about health, fitness and lifestyle stuff that we do, obviously it's more over on our Instagram there on progressivefitness_101. We share quite a lot on there, constantly uploading new content about different things, tips, tricks that can help you get in shape and stay in shape all year round. And also we'll be creating more YouTube content around this kind of stuff as well. So thank you for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this, make sure you subscribe. And if there's any questions or suggestions, drop it in the comments below.